Roman, on the other hand, dito na buhay yung Christ. Roman civilization is the longest recorded civilization. Bakit? Because yung Roman civilization was started BC or before Christ and ended AD, which is after Adam Domini or after death. Which means, ito yung pinaka-longest na civilization. Saan ba itong military training? When people becomes barbaric and the only point of view is to become noble warlords, that happens during the Greek period, and that one is during Spartan education. And the correct answer there is letter B, which is the Greek. That's why sabi ko, hindi ako magkakamali. Hindi yan nangyayari during Roman. Although Roman civilization, we have soldiers, but it started with the Greek Spartan education. When all individual was trained to become a military, okay, or the people are destined to be somebody during the war, right? So the correct answer there is letter B. All right? Sana may nakuha kayo, ha? So, pag uwi nyo ngayon, may teaching na kayo, Greek period, para yung Spartan, yung mga ROTC, tanong, the teaching of ROTC, CAT or ano may say, Citizen Army Training or the CMT, Citizen Military Training, is always attributed to Spartan influence to our education. Right? So next slide, please. So there, the correct answer is Greek. High percent for next slide. Which philosophy, educational objective to indoctrinate Filipinos to accept the teaching of the Catholic Church, which is to foster faith in God? What is that? Realism, pragmatism, idealism, existentialism. The correct answer here is, when you talk about realism, this refers to the actualities of life. What is real, yung nakikita mo. Okay? Go back please to the question. So, yung nakikita ng mata mo, that is real. The next choices, please. Okay, pragmatism. From the word pragma, means practical, Jenny. So, if the person is pragmatic, ibig sabihin, she is very pragmatic. Ang ibig sabihin nun, that the person is practical. Okay, Christine Joy is a pragmatic individual. Ibig sabihin, si Christine Joy ay isang practical na tao. Okay? Idealism. Idealism, believing that what is perfect, normally it's part of your fantasy. What is ideal, okay? That is what you call idealism. Okay? The last one is existentialism. When you say existentialism, from the word existence, which means ako ang pinaka-importante sa mundo at ang existence ko. Right? So, existentialism is a philosophy of education that is learner-centered, that focuses on the choices of individual. So, halimbawa, si Jenny Lynn, may choices siya sa buhay niya. Sabi ng nanay niya, you are what you want to be. So, ang nanay is may filosofiyang existentialist. Bakit? She allowed Christine Joy or Jenny Lynn to make choices. So, existentialism. So, sa actual board example, sinasabi natin, war, death, walang forever, that one is realism. Pag sinabi natin, Lumen uses surf because surf ay kompleto na sa isang sachet. May powder ka na, may fabric conditioner ka pa. That one is pragmatic, practical siya. Okay? So when you the next one, when you tell yourself that what is perfect is my perfect husband for me, or my perfect boyfriend for me is tall, dark, and handsome. Ibig sabihin yun, Joshua or Christine, you are idealistic. Alright? So that is a form of idealism. When my mother told me to marry or not is my option or choice, my mother is an existentialist. Alright? So did you understand? Any questions so far? So here the correct answer when you talk about accept the teaching of Catholic Church. Catholic Church teaches us to become idealistic. All right? So that one. So the correct answer here is idealism. Next slide, please. Wala na talagang dadagat ano, sabihin mo sa kanila magdagdag sila. Kasi masaya naman pag nagklase, no? Marami kang natutunan. Kaysa mag-Facebook ka lang, chat-chat ka lang, hanap-hanap ka ng ka-chat mo, tapos bastusanay kayo, or chikahanay kayo. Di ba ganun? Or chismis. Ito, may matutunan ka. Alright? So, next one. Virtue as one component in the teaching of Rizal, as the course focuses on the teaching of good and beauty consistent in the good and beauty in God. What philosophy supports this? A. B. C. Progressivism. Or the social reconstructionist. The correct answer there is letter. What do you think is correct answer? We're talking about teaching of good beauty consistent to the beauty of God. Dapat ganito, dapat ganito. The correct answer there is idealism. Alright? Paunti-unti nating pag-uusapan ang isang. Please tell your classmates, Jeneline, to join the class so that they can gradually grasp what ism is. Please enjoy it. You invite them to join. Kasi kanina marami nang nag-join, baka ayaw na nila kasi kala nila usap-usap lang tayo. So, let's talk about existentialism, that was choices. Idealism talks perfection, how become the best person, the point of view of others. Ang hirap-hirap sometimes you get frustrated kasi mag-idealistic, napaka-idealistic niya. Parang ang hirap i-meet ng standard ng isang tao pag perfectionist. The next concept is progressivism. What is progressivism? When you say progressivism, from the word progress, okay? And the clue for this concept of philosophy is that experience. So when you allow the child as she grow along, magpo-progress siya by experiencing. Ibig sabihin, as a teacher, I am a progressivist. So therefore, teach the child to do hands-on learning. So pag experience, experimentation, laboratory learning, learning by doing, that is progressivist in point of view. Ibig sabihin, pag sinasabing progressivist, makita mo sa questioning, may experience yung bata, nag-hands-on learning siya. Alright? So, ang iba kasi, they explain further about ism using hyperlooking words. But the student don't understand that. Bakit, Rowena? Kasi hindi naintindihan ng tao. Ano may sinasabi niya progressive? Ang dami namin sinabi, pero wala akong naintindihan. Simple lang pag-intindi natin. Pag nag-experience yung bata, you allow the child to experience life, that is from this point of view. To allow the child to make choices, that is existentialism. When you demanded the child to become perfect, that is idealism. O ngayon, ano naman ang social reconstructionism? When you say social reconstructionism, this is a kind of philosophy wherein the child must be knowledgeable of what is happening of the society. So pag teacher ka, Jenny Lynn, you are not just putting yourselves within the four corners of your bucket. You go outside, you look some problem, for example, drug addiction, you bring it inside the classroom, and somehow you've been part of the solution. For example, lumabas yan, may drug addiction na problema sa labas. Dinala mo sa classroom mo. Okay, class, I want you to realize the problem about drug addiction. I want you to come up with your own suggestion through brainstorming in order to come up a campaign or somehow a help to alleviate what we call drug addiction. So therefore, you allow the students to brainstorm. So yung brainstorming class will give the idea to the student and then part na kayo ng solution. Right? So those are ism. So in this case, class, beauty to God is more on idealism. So the correct here rather is the idealism. All right? Next slide, please. Natututo ba tayo? Rowena, okay ba?
Yes,
Next.
ma'am.
Okay. Klaro ba ako dyan, Weng? Klaro naman ba ako?
Opo, maganda po signal.
Ang ganda ng signal. So, I want
Opo.
you to invite your classmates there na hindi na ako maka-online sa Messenger to join the class na whoever wants to join kasi napakaganda nito in preparation for our proof ed. Alright? Thank you, Wang. Okay, next question. Giving education, next question, giving education the highest budgetary allocation, the Philippine government recognizes the possible contribution of its future citizens of the Philippine society, which stressed these goals of education for social transformation. O ito na, mamanghirap naman ang question. Hindi on in some of the concept of history. Okay, the highest budgetary allocation of the Philippines is coming from what we call Roman education. Okay, isa-isahin natin. Yung Athenian education focuses more on aesthetics or beauty. Right? Yung the second one, followers of Christ, focuses more on the teaching of the Bible and the propagation of Christian faith. Okay, ang Greek education naman, teaching individual to become liberal. Liberal. That's a Greek education is otherwise known as liberal education. Roman education talks napakalaki ng budget para sa edukasyon because they believe that education is a byproduct of what we call social transformation. Okay? So the correct answer there is letter D, Roman education. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next question. A teacher who is recognized expert in the carpentry works taught his students how to prepare and construct good and aesthetic furniture from local resources. What cultural transmission process is this? We have different concepts. A, alteration. B, enculturation. C, indoctrination. Or D, observation. What is this all about? When you say acculturation, Joshua, when you are acculturating, you're learning another culture. All right? Yun yung mga idea. Acculturation is learning another culture. Enculturation is learning our own culture. Indoctrination, normally ginagamit ko sa church. And observation is a simple watching over other people. All right? So, the correct answer here is enculturation. When you say enculturation, you're using our local products. You are learning our own culture. So therefore, it is termed to be enculturation. Acculturation is learning another culture. Example, eating noodles. It's the culture of Chinese. Ewan ko ba kung bakit puro tayo inchik-inchik ngayon, ano? Kahit ang mask natin, inchik PPE natin, ano ba tawag doon? Face shield. Bali, historically speaking, we've been known to be borrowing a lot of culture from Western and from Oriental cultures. Okay? So the correct answer here is letter B, that is enculturation. Next slide. Miss Emma, can you please tell the students to join the class now? It's all right if they haven't answered the question as long as they're during the discussion. Next question. Every first day of the school year, Miss Bautista prepared her grade 3 play, and learn and introduce themselves to the class. What process did a teacher use enculturation, indoctrination, people or other children. We use that term to be socialization. Letter D. Kailangan ba tao mag-socialize? Oo, otherwise, magiging anti-social behavior mo. Halimbawa, si Joshua, hindi nakipag-social. Hindi kailangan na social ka ha. Baka just sabihin mo talagang dapat social ka, mamahalin mo. Hindi. There are two types of people. We have what we call social. Yung social, yung yung social, tinatawag natin social climber. Okay? The other term is what we call social. Alright? So when you stay social, um, ikaw yung taong ingeluxin na you can relate to the lower, middle, and upper class. So ang tawag sa'yo, social person. Pero may tao namang social. Ito yung pula yung nail polish, blondie yung hair, madami siya alahas, pula ang lipstick mo, parang ganon. At nag-smoke. Parang napaka-social niya. So sa mga usapang UP, tawag sa kanila, burgis, bourgeois. Eh, tawag na, burgis na burgis ha. Pag sinabing burgis na burgis, ibig sabihin, pasosyal ka. Okay? Sa iba naman, sa Ilonggo, tinatawag nila Pigastus. Ano yung tinatawag nila? Christine Joy, Pigastus. Pigastus. Ano yung Pigastus? Pigadong social. Alright? So, ganun. So, that one is socialization. Very important. Next one, concept. Next slide, please. Which philosophy approves of the teacher who lectures most of the time and requires students to memorize the rule of grammar. Diba? May mga ganon. Dati-dati, tinuturuan ako ng teacher ko. Sabi niya, sige, mag-ano ka next meeting, you're going to memorize the poem. And, all things wide and wonderful. Or great, or creatures, great and small. Pag doon, kailangan memorado. Pag hindi, mamarkahan ka. Fail. O sige. So that's why sa gabi pa lang, dati memorization talaga. Kahit notebook mo, pinaka-memorize, kahit formula, kahit sa math. 1 times 1 equals 1. 1 times 2 equals 2. 2 times parang ganon. So that one is what we call idealistic point of view. So the correct answer is letter B, which is idealist. Perfectionist. Okay, next please. Bakit kaya walang berito? Madam, next slide. Okay, next one. Teacher D, a values education teacher, emphasized ethics in almost all of her lesson. Which of the following emphasizes the same? So when you talk about ethics, is that liberal? Is that moral, religious, or social education? So ethics is always under not religious but moral education. But what's the difference in the religious training? Religious training talks about singing the song, praising God. That one is religious training. But when you talk about ethical standard, that refers to your moral standard. So it belongs to the moral education. Liberal education talks about freedom. Okay, social education, relationship with other people. All right, proceed. Next slide, please. Next slide. Which reform the Philippine education system advocates the use of English and Filipino as media instruction of specific learning areas. So dalawa ha, English and Filipino. What is that? Alternative learning, bilingual education, K-12 program, multilingual. What do you think is correct answer? Joshua, do you think? What do you think is the correct answer there?
Bilingual.
Correct. It's bilingual education. So bilingual, dalawa. dalawa yung kailangan nating magiging lingwahe. Is that in Filipino and English? And I remember we were part of that 1990s, the program of bilingual education. Tapos ngayon, hindi na tayo bilingual. There will be MTE or MLE. I'm sorry. MTB, MLE. What is the MTB? Mother tongue based multilingual education. So, pag taga-Aklan ka, dapat mag-Akyanon ka. Pag taga-Iloilo ka, dapat mag-Hiligaynon ka. And Bacolod. That one is multilingual education. Ang K-12 program, iba naman yan. Okay? That is why otherwise known as enhanced BEC. Diba? Dati BEC, Basic Education Curriculum. So ngayon, pinalitan niya ng curriculum natin ng K-12. So ang K-12 is otherwise known as enhanced BEC or enhanced basic education curriculum. So ito naman nagpo-focus ang layunin sa pag-develop ng individual sa mga gusto nilang tahakin. So that's why they created senior high to develop the different strands of education. So the correct answer here is letter B, bilingual education. Next slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here. Which, sandali. Which philosophy influenced the cultivation and reflective abilitative skills in teaching? And meditative skills, hindi yan meditativa, meditative skills in teaching. Is that Confucianism, existentialism, Taoism, Zen Buddhism? Ulitin ko kanina, Confucianism talks about moral. Existentialism talks about choices. Taoism talks about natural way of living. They believe in yin yang or wu wei. I'm sorry. What is that wu wei? Wu wei is a bagwa. If you're familiar with bagwa, may black at saka white. So when you say bagwa, it's a black and white. That one refers to the energy that's coming in your surrounding. That is Taoism. Ang Zen Buddhism focuses on reflective and meditative skills. So the correct answer here is Zen Buddhism. Kasi alam niyo, class, I do not know if you have tried the yoga. And I don't know if you have tried meditation or meditating. Yung meditation na tama, na you look at yourself inside there's a, you just look at yourself that you are inside the candle that happens. Pag meditate ka, si Buddha ganun ginawa niya eh. Pagbalik niya, he became enlightened one. Oh, baka Joshua gusto mo maging enlightened one, punta ka ng forest, mag-meditate ka. Why? In some cases kasi class, may mga bagay-bagay dati na hindi natin aling tao na pag normal. Halimbawa, ang daming nag-make during the day. Ma-overthink sila eh, dahil wala silang ginagawa. Hindi tayo focus. Pag may mga issue tayo, talaga, nag-iisip lalo got that kind of realization when it was pandemic, and I realized that everything is temporary, and that includes the COVID-19. Kaya lang, kahirapan yung maghintay natin kailan ba matatapos to. Alright? So, everything is temporary. All you need to have a faith in your heart that everything will be done after this. That there will be rainbow after the rain. Huh? So, you hope. And if you keep on worrying, it would not even help you in the middle of pandemic. Hindi nyo alam yung dami na nag-suicide. Halos kasing rami ng mga namamatay ng COVID. Alright? Kahapon nakita ko yung data ng mga nag-suicide. Ang dami din. Bakit? Baka kulang ng meditation. Ako kasi ganun din. I was attacked with my anxiety kasi alam niyo naman hindi naman ligid sa katotohanan. When the lockdown was declared, I was in Bohol and from Bohol, punta ako ng Romela to have my going to Zamboanga for another set of lecture. So punta ko ng Bohol ng lecture, punta ko ng Zamboanga ng lecture, and after that I have still work in Quezon to have another set of lecture for Proof N. Pero alam niyo nangyari guys, grabe talaga, natakot ako. Bakit? Kasi nagpunta ako ng Maynila, wala akong mask. Nagpunta ako sa Zamboanga, talaga nag-overthink ako doon. I was having my class 7 days. I was looking at the people rallying or having a lot of issues about the buying of the mask kasi wala na, ubusan na. Just like the PPE now, parang nabaliw na yung tao, kailangan yan. And parang nagpapakamatay na yung iba just to get one piece of mask. And I don't even have one. Alam mo yung ginawa ko talaga? Nag-announce ako sa klase. Ang class ko ay puro Muslim. 90% of my students were Muslims. And most of them are from Tawi-Tawi and Basilan and Sulu. So I asked them, guys, alam nyo, buti pa kayo, meron kayo tawag doon sa arido yung tawag yung nilalagay nila sa face, yung mga Muslims. Tapos sabi ko, ako wala talaga akong mask, hindi, wala talaga akong mabilan ng mask. The next day, may somebody called me because kung uuwi ako, delikado sa aeroplano pag wala kang mask. Somebody told me, ma'am, bigay ko na sa iyo, this is your mask. Bakit? Bakit natutuwa ako? Kasi nag-overthink lang ako na magbabiyahe ako na walang mask eh. And once you are trying to or start things frustrating, naiiyak ka na, parang ikaw na yung pinakakawawa, which you fail to think na ang iba pala sobra yung pagdaanan. So nung nandito na ako, nakauwi na ako noong April, may another problem ako. Natakot na naman ako, baka magutom kami, baka hanggang kailan ito, parang ganon. But wonderfully, I'm thinking about, bakit ako matatakot? When you believe in God, you have no fear. Parang ganon na talaga yung kasimpleng buhay. Kasi yung kasing iba, while they're busy thinking about what will happen, try to divert your attention to a better and productive activities that will make you feel a very good individual. Parang ganun lang. All right? Next concept, please. Next slide, please. So the correct answer there was Zen Buddhism. Okay, let's talk about child and adolescent development. I lecture with you last time. I hope you have the school physician. I'm sorry. The school physician conducted a physical examination with Miss Manuel's class. What concept best describe the quantitative increase of by Dr. Iscotos among the learners in terms and weight? Okay, is that development? Is that growth? Is that learning? Is that maturation? If you had attended my class, you also remember that when you talk about development, that is a qualitative change. When you qualitative means to say uh, quality of improvement. Halimbawa, dati iyakin, ngayon hindi na. That is development. Walang number involved. The growth, on the other hand, is a quantitative change. Just like, for example, your weight, from ako, weight ko talaga ha, for the information of everyone. Wag chismis to Christine Joy. Bakit? When I was single, my weight was only 49 kilos. When I am married, my weight is 130 kilos. Masayang improvement yun. My waistline when I was single, Joshua, was only 24. Ngayon, 54. Oh my God. I became obese due to eating a lot of fat. All right? So that one is growth. When there is involvement of number, height, or weight, or quantitative change. Next one is learning. Change of behavior is referred to learning. The last one is maturation. Maturation refers to aging. Okay? Halimbawa, paglabas ng mga uban mo dyan, that is maturation. Pag lumabas yung mga kulubot mo, that's maturation. Right? Proceed. So the correct answer here, quantitative increase, refers to letter B, growth. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. What concept can best describe audience without support at the age of 12 months because of the internal ripening that occurred in the muscle, bones, and nervous internal ripening. Is that development, growth, learning, maturation? Answer is internal maturation. Learning alta. Ian Paul, a 5-year-old boy, can hold a pen and write his name with his right hand. Which term describes Manuel's action or behavior? A. Development. B. Growth. C. Learning. D. Maturation. Okay, given those kind of definition, the correct answer here is letter A. Am I right? Next slide. Next slide, presenter. Alam nyo, class, minsan, ang technology talaga, mahirap din intindihin. That's why sabi ko, bakit ba nagkakaproblema itong globe at saka yung smart? Kasi ngayon, pahirapan padamihan na talaga na cell site ang laban at may pumasok na bakong player and that is D2 which is very aggressive in putting a lot of cell site. Alright? Next number. Mr. Francisco was very much worried about the thumb sucking of his son. A friend of him that certain behavior, bakit parang may kulang, among infants who presented the notion that certain behavior in thumb sucking is normal behavior is that Sigmund Freud, Eric Erikson, John Bowley, Yuri Bronfenbrenner. The correct answer is letter A, that is Sigmund Freud. Have to remember, people, si Eric Erikson talks about psychosocial. John Bowley talks about the SR, or stimulus response. And Yuri Bronfenbrenner talks about the ecological environment surrounding yung labas. Okay? So the correct answer there is letter A, Erikson. Uh, Next. Next slide, please. Next question. Ms. Razel uses images and the language to represent and understand her various lessons to preschool learners. What states in the cognitive theory of development explains this one? About cognitive development with Piaget, may apat tayo. We have the sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete, and formal. Okay, apat. So sensory motor stage, 0 to 2 years old. This one is talking about reflexes. All right? The pre-operational stage talks about uh, languages, starting or revealing of the language, and preschool, yung bata. So the saan siya na belong? B, that is pre-operational. So the correct answer is pre-operational. Which of the following is the correct order of psychosexual stages proposed by Sigmund Freud? Oh, sunod yan. Started with the oral. Ano mag-aan yan, Joshua? Oral.
Anal.
Anal. That was.
Anal.
And then after that, We have phallic latency and genital. So the correct answer is letter A, oral, anal, phallic latency, and genital. They call that cuisine OE palagi. Okay, that's oral, anal, phallic latency, and genital. Letter A. Next slide, please. Jensei is 8 years old, and although she understands some logical principle, she still trouble in understanding hypothetical concepts. So according to Cliche, Gen Z belongs to what particular stage of development? Okay, the answer is A, sensory motor, pre-operational, concrete operational, or formal operational. We're talking about what we call hypothetical concept and still uh, 8 years old. And being an 8 years old belongs in what we call concrete operational stage. The correct answer is letter C. Tandaan nyo, sensory reflexes, pre-operational, is transductive reasoning. Anong tinatawag na transductive reasoning? Sa pre-operational stage na transductive reasoning, kailangan nakikita ng bata before niya maintindihan. Okay, transductive. Pagdating ng concrete logical reasoning, pagdating ng pagdating ng formal abstract reasoning. So the correct answer here is concrete operational stage. 8 years old. Proceed. Next number, please. What is the correct sequence of prenatal stages of development? Is it started with embryo, germinal, fetus? Started with germinal, fetus, embryo, or germinal, embryo, fetus, and embryo, fetus, germinal. What is the correct order? Dai. What is the correct order there? Joshua.
Embryo.
Answer? That
Embryo. A.
no, nauuna ang Joshua. It started with germinal stage, followed by embryo, followed by fetus. Germ, tapos embryonic stage, tapos ang fetal stage. So yung fetal, tao na yun. Yung embryo, yung parang butiki siya. Alright? Walk naman germinal, just the union of the egg cell and the sperm cell. Germinal ang tawag doon. Napaka-wonderful nga ng life, ano? Imagine upon the union of the egg cell and the sperm cell, life begins. At saka pag life begins, after that, mag-develop siya into embryonic stage. From fertilization, nagiging embryonic stage, yung nakunan ka, maliit na bata, yung lumabas, that's embryo. Okay? So pag tao na yan, kompleto na, may paa na, that one is called fetal stage. Right? Proceed tayo. Next. So the correct answer is letter C, germinal, embryonic, fetal stage. Proceed. Next. When a rubber duck, which has fallen out of the tub, must be somewhere else on the floor. Is likely to achieve that aspect in cognitive development. Alam niyo guys, yung bata kasi, pag na-develop ng tinatawag na object permanence, pag may nahulog, hinahanap niya. If you have observed, hindi sila masyadong anong tawag yung nag-angot or nag-aamang sa mother. Kung umiiyak, hindi sila umiiyak pag umalis siya. Pagdating ng 2 to 4 years old, dyan na iyak ng iyak ang bata pag umalis yung parents. Bakit? Kasi pag umalis yung parents. Bakit? Kasi pag 0 to 2 years old, ang tawag stranger anxiety. Naiiyak sila kasi wala yung kanila. Wala yung permanent ang object na permanent sa mata nila. That's why sila umiiyak. Pero pagdating ng 2 to 4 years old, umiiyak yung bata kasi there is a kind of anxiety called separation anxiety. What is a separation anxiety? This is totally different from stranger. So pag sila separation anxiety, pag umalis yung nanay, natatakot sila kasi baka sila iwan. Alright? So, that is during the time, toddler na yung bata. However, pag ang bata ay preschool, ang tawag doon, naghinahanap nila ang constantly nakikita nila is because they develop the concept of object permanence. Object permanence. Letter A. Next slide. Which of the following will be Freud's description of the child's behavior if he's biting in a sarcastic manner? May nakikita siguro kayong mga bata, no? Nangangagat, tapos parang talagang naiinis sila naiinis sila, kinakagat talaga ng todo. That one is anally impulsive, B, anally retentive, C, fixated in oral stage, or experiencing the crisis of trust versus mistrust. That one, pag biting in a sarcastic manner, is a fixated in oral stage. Sigmund Freud concept, oral versus or oral stage, that once not satisfied, develop siya fixation. Okay? Paglaki ng bata. So yung hindi na satisfy ang oral needs mo at the age of 0 to 2 years old, paglaki mo, you will be creating a problem in relation to mouth. Yung iba nangangagat. So, yung iba naman, hindi sila nangangagat, medyo soft sila, nagtathumb stocking. Pag hindi naman sila nagtathumb stocking, finger stocking, or pag hindi naman, any problem in relation to mouth. Overeating, kissing, may talagang humahalik talaga Joshua na parang suso talaga ha, parang kagat, may dalang kagat. That one is the oral fixation. So the correct answer here is letter C. Proceed. Next number, please. Renzo, who is between 9 and 11, are most likely to demonstrate most reasoning of which Colbert state. Is that pre-conventional, conventional, post-conventional, none of the above? So the age of the child is 9 to 11. So tingnan natin, 0 to 2, sensory, 0 to 2 is 0 to 7 years old, preschool. Yung morality ng bata is pre-conventional. Ano tinatawag na pre-conventional? Takot sa mga persons in authority. Takot sa pulis, takot kay nanay, takot kay lola, takot sila. That one is pre-conventional. The second, the moral is conventional morality is based on people around you. Tell me, tell you who you are. Okay? The last one is the post-conventional morality. This post-conventional morality, takot ka sa konsensya, sa law. Okay? So, ang tanong dito, 9 to 11 years old, demonstrate mo at moral reasoning. Belong siya sa sino bang importante sa kanila? Si T, si friend. Ganun. Right? So, importante yun. Okay? So, the correct answer here is letter B, conventional. Okay? What's next? Next slide, please. Okay, here. Next slide. Luis, who is low achieving, shy, and withdrawn, is rejected by most of the peers. Her teacher wants to help Luis increase his self confidence and social acceptance. What can Luis' teacher suggest to her parents? A. Transfer her to different school. B. Help her son to improve her motor skills. C. Help her daughter learn to step more responsibility to her academics. Or D. Help the daughter improve her skill in relating to peers. The correct answer is letter D, Delta. Help the daughter to improve her skills in relating to. Alam niyo, pag hindi naman kasi na-develop ng bata, no, hindi siya marunong din makipag makipag-social or makirelate sa ibang bata. So importante 'yon na yung anak mo is ano din mapalakaibigan. Okay? So, ma'am, hindi siya pala kaibigan niya, tahimik lang siya. Hindi ibig sabihin na tahimik siya, hindi siya pala kaibigan. Meron namang tahimik na may kaibigan. Pero pag wala talaga siyang kaibigan, why is he isolating himself? Mag-iisip tayo, bakit ba nag-isolate sila? May mga taong de-isolate themselves from their friends. Wala every behavior. Lahat yan may rason. Kahit kunting kimbot lang, dati-dati ang sweet-sweet ng boyfriend mo, ngayon parang hindi na, binabastos ka na. May reason yon. Baka may ginawa kang kasalanan sa kanya. Yun yun. So, hindi pwede wala lang rason, Joshua. Okay. Tinermi ka sa trabaho. May reason yun, hindi lang trick-trick lang. Alright? So, nais ka sa tao. So, in all behavior has reason. Hindi pwede na ano lang, wala lang. Alright? Proceed tayo. Next question, please. Presenter, can you please provide me water here? Okay, next question. The theory operates on the stimulus response principle, which means all behavior are caused by external stimuli. All right? Is that contextual theory? Is that behaviorist theory? Theory. The correct is letter B, behaviorist. We're talking about SR. Tandaan nyo, pag yan guys, ang SR or stimulus response principle always tackle about associative theory or behaviorist theory. Ang cognitive naman, isipan. Say for example, insight learning, field theory, that is cognitive. Yung ang information processing, cognitive. Ang constructivist naman na theory, this is a concept about making something. You are being creative, just like making portfolio is a constructivist. Contextual is exposure. Okay? Yon. Excuse me. Please. The correct answer is behaviorist. Alright? So, ang dami-dami nating pinag-usapan and I hope it will retain to you, guys. Pag nag-study tayo, you're going to inculcate that in your heart. Kasi minsan pag okay, next, hindi natin alam ano ba yung tama. Okay? And ang board exam na strategy na nakita ko, you have to live it with your life. Yung principle, dapat isabuhay mo. Proof ed, kailangan, ano ba magiging mabuting teacher? So, dapat isa sa buhay mo yun. And no wonder you will become a professional teacher. Right? So, simple na yung proof ed. Hindi kailangan i-memorize, intindihin. Alright, next number. Miss Jessa, in her biology class, accompanies her discussion with interesting visual aids. Okay? And then she strongly believes that students learn better when lessons are presented with images, real and imagined, aside from which learning theory does she uphold? A is that dual coding theory, information processing approach, meaningful reception learning theory, or social cognitive theory. Okay? So itong tinatawag nating dual coding theory is both cognitive and behavioral. Okay? Ito, accompanies her discussion with interesting visual aids and strongly believes the student can learn better when the lesson is presenting with images. Okay? B, information processing approach. Processing approach, sense, okay? Sensory means to say all that is captured by your eyes. Nilalagay yan sa short-term memory, eventually to long memory. Meaningful reception learning theory by Vivian Osobels. This is referring to meaningful learning. All right? Or D, social cognitive learning, relasyon or yung tinatawag natin na you learn from others. Social cognitive, anong nakikita mo sa iba is gradually nagli-learn ka rin. And this, in this item, the correct answer is letter A. That one is dual coding theory. Next slide, please. Miss Callum was an excellent physical education teacher. She started teaching values, and despite all her efforts, her class does not seem to learn how to play the game. This love learning was disregarded. What is that? Okay? Grade 2 class pa siya. Anong na-disregard dyan? Law of effect ba? Law of exercise o law of readiness. Okay? Kahit anong gawin niya, this does not seem to learn how to play the game. Ano bang problema? Kasi hindi niya ginamit, epekto, hindi siya nag-practice, or hindi siya ready. The correct answer is letter D, readiness. Bakit? Bakit of readiness? Kasi a grade 2 students is not yet ready to play volleyball game. Because yung volleyball game, pag sinasabi natin grade 2, she is just 8 years old. And 8 years old is still under what we call associative and cooperative play. Okay? Bakit? Kasi yung volleyball is a competitive play. And a child below 9 years old is not yet ready to play that kind of game. Okay? So the correct answer, di pa ready yung bata. That is the law of readiness. Kasi ano yun yung result? Law of readiness, pag hindi ready ang bata to accept the information, hindi magle-learn yan. Kahit sa classroom natin, principal natin, Joshua, nang tuturo ka, pag turo ka ng turo, hindi sila prepared, walang may magle-learn. Right? Next number. Rai is always fearful of freely roaming dogs, but does not mind the dogs on a pen or on the leash. What feature of classical conditioning is exhibited? Is that discrimination, extension, generalization, or practice? Isa-isahin natin. There's what we call classroom approach. Ano tawag doon? Class discipline approach. Okay, first, discrimination. What is discrimination? Discrimination refers to, ano tawag yung discrimination? Refers to takot ka sa lahat ng aso, pero hindi sa aso niyo. That is discrimination. Alright? Takot ka sa lahat ng ahas, pero hindi ka takot sa ahas na hindi nangangagat. That is discrimination. Ang generalization is takot ka talaga sa lahat ng ahas na the generalization. The other term is what we call acquisition. What do you mean when we say acquisition? I acquired certain fear. For example, natakot akong magiging natakot akong natakot ako sa lizard. That is why, because that is an acquired fear. That is acquisition. What about extension? When you say extension, uh, sa classical condition ni Ivan Pavlov, yung aso na condition na if there is a bell, there is food. Ang tanong, pwede ba mawala yung tinatawag nating condition na yan? Okay, pwede. Paano? Nag-i-introduce kasi si Pavlov dati. Food, bell food, bell food, bell food. And so therefore, the bell is being associated to food. That if there is a bell, there is always food that is coming. Okay. So pwede ba mawala yung paglalaway ng ido? Kasi nag-expect siya kasi na right after the bell, may pagkain yan. So pwede ba mawala? Pwede. The law of disuse or what we call extension. Sa bawat bell, wala ng food na magkasunod. Puro na lang bell, walang food. Eventually, the conditioning will diminish. Mawawala yun. Right? Ilagay natin sa ating boyfriend. Halimbawa, may boyfriend si Christine. Yung boyfriend niya, bigay ng regalo. Di ba? I love you ng I love you. Alright? One day, hindi na nagbigay ulit yung lalaki. Magkasunod, wala nang binigay. Yung conditioning ni Christine that expecting that there is a gift, mawawala din yun. That is the process of extension. Alright? Proceed tayo. Next number, please. A music teacher is careful in planning activities to its lesson. He praises liberally and rewards correct answers. What view of learning exhibited? That classical? Is that meaningful? Is that operant? Is that social learning? Okay, intention, meaningful learning. That one is meaningful learning is the of expository prose and, and the graphic organizer, advanced organizer. Okay, operant conditioning is based on rewards and punishment, and social learning is uh, imitation. So pag sinabing social learning, gaya-gaya po tumaya. So letter C, ang correct answer ay operant conditioning. Because of what? Praises liberally. Okay? So tandaan nyo si Ivan Pavlov, which is classical conditioning, walang reward. Okay? Only Skinner has. Alright? Proceed. Are you okay? Dalawa na lang kayo, but we need to continue. Josh 1 to 6. Are you okay? Okay, operant conditioning. Next number, please. Next number. An earth sci, an earth science teacher has just completed a unit of the sun, and she organized her next unit on other stars. She uses the sun as a frame of reference. What view of learning was used? The correct answer is that discover learning, information learning, meaningful learning, or transfer learning. What's your answer here? The correct answer is letter. We're talking about completed. Meaningful learning is correct. Okay, letter C. Advanced by David Ossoben. Right? Next concept. Miss Ems. Okay. After just being introduced another guest in a party, Tom cannot remember the name of the guest he was introduced in what memory rather stage was the information stored in? Okay, the correct answer is just there in sensory memory. Letter C. So sensory more memory is a short-term memory, right? Doon lang capturing the information by your senses. Diyan lang talaga nang pumapasok. Okay? All right? Next. Vygotsky claimed that social interaction, what does this imply? A. Children are independent problem solvers. B. Children learn from adults and other children. C. Children will be by passive presentation of information. Or D. Children in the crib has no learning yet since they are not capable of interaction. So the correct answer here is letter B. Children learn from adults and other children. All right? Bucket, will you talk about that one? Being socially inclined, you must learn from other children. Okay, next slide, please. According to Thorndike, what law states rather that the strength of connection is influenced with the consequences of the response? Is that law of the shoes, law of effect, law of exercise, and law of readiness? Correct answer is letter B, law of effect. All right. What number are we now, Joshua?
Ko ba lamang kay waiting
Emma,
ubutangan.
Miss Emma, what number are we now? Miss Emma, what number are we now? All right. Proceed. Ah, yes, Miss M. What number are we now? We will end by 50, tapos kasi magre-resume tayo tonight. Kasi para yung iba maka-join. 15, sige. We will end by 50. Baka mas maganda yung signal sa gabi. M, mga around what number am I? 40. Is that alright, Christine and Josh? To end, tapos mag-continue tayo mamayang gabi. Baka sa iba kasi maganda yung signal mamayang gabi.
Okay, sure, sure.
Kasi maulan.
Okay, ma'am.
Sige, Christine. We will end up there. At learn
Mahina kasi yung net ngayon, ma'am.
may alin, Miss? Mahina ang net dyan ngayon, Miss Chris.
Opo.
O sige. So mamayang gabi, medyo malakas bang signal sa gabi?
Hindi po ako maka-attend mamayang gabi, ma'am, kasi nandito lang po ako sa signalan.
Talaga? Ako naman dahil.
Opo.
Chris,
Mahirap po yung
pwede mo
signal dito sa akin, ma'am, eh.
O sige, pero kaya mo kaya i-avail sa YouTube?
Pwede
YouTube
naman
or
po i-download.
yung video, hindi. Oo. Meron naman tayong YouTube at video nito. So you can download
Okay.
it. Kasi yung dalawa lang talaga kayo ni Joshua nag-attend ngayon. Pero
Kaya
normally
nga,
pag gabi, madami. Okay
okay
ka lang,
po.
Joy.
Okay lang po, ma'am, pero try ko
Pero
po.
clear
Mga
naman.
anong,
Mga
di ba,
7:30. Yes, Joy?
di po ba bukas meron ding klase?
Yes, pero tayo bukas pa rin.
Okay
Oo.
po.
So, sa gabi rin, kaya mo ba yung gabi?
Try ko po bukas. Ngayon kasi medyo alanganin, eh. Mahirap po kasi talaga yung signal dito sa amin, ma'am. Umaakyat pa po ako ng
Saan
bundok.
ka?
Malinaw po.
Oh my God. Maulan ba? Hindi naman.
Hindi naman po.
Pero maganda ba yung discussion natin? May nalalearn ka ba?
Opo.
Okay. So, every time you listen, mag-take down notes ka.
Okay po, opo.
Okay. Kasi, you are right?
Okay
Okay,
po.
mag-last na 10 tayo ha. Okay, saan tayo, Miss Emma? Ito na ba? Number 36. Okay, magla-last 10 numbers tayo. The present military training in our school curriculum is an influence of what? The correct answer is, of course, sinabi ko na kanina yan, Spartan. And that happens during the Greek period. Alright? Letter A, Spartan education. Okay? Dito, yung school nila is a barak type of school. Their concern is purely military training. Alright? Next number, 37. After listening to the homily of the priest about fidelity, Kathy has the moment of reflection. Her understanding of the value of fidelity has become deeper as she related this to her past experiences. This testifies that what kind of philosophy? When you talk about fidelity, Joshua, this refers to your loyalty. Okay? So, saan yan nanggaling? Is that humanism, constructivism, existentialism, and reconstructivism? The correct answer here is letter C. That one is existentialism. Isa-isahin natin, ha? Pag sinasabing humanism, developing individual and their potential. Say, for example, maganda kang mag-paint, humanist approach yung teaching. So, you're developing your painting through education. That is humanism. Yung constructivism refers to the creation. What do you mean creation? If you are constructivist, you want to create something, you want to invent, you want to recreate, and you want to put everything in your mind into something that is tangible. That is constructivist. Ang is choices, and reconstructionist yung tawag social reconstructionism using education to reconstruct the society. All right? So the correct answer there is existentialism. Next number. Which of the following would best describe the role of the school? Role of the school. A, to educate the citizen. B, to society. Or C, to educate the citizen to change the society. So the correct answer is all. A, B, and C. That's the reason why class ngayon sa kapanahunan ngayon, nagagalit ba kayo pag may nagpuna sa gobyerno? No, you should. Why? Karapatan natin yun. Okay? Hindi tayo bobo na okay lang ng okay kung ang mga bagay-bagay ay hindi tama. Ay, importante, nakikilas yung susyedad. Okay? Hindi ka lang ayaw mo. Mga taga-UP kasi nagrarally. I was so in pain to that pag may narinig ako. Mga tanga ang taga-UP, bakit sila nagrarally? Because I've been into that when I was in college. And, I realized noon ko lang na-realize talaga, ang laki pala ng papel ng mga kabataang estudyante. Kasi, pag matanda ka na or ordinaryong mamamayan ka, parang wala ka nang pakialam, bahala na yan ng gobyerno. This is not about surrendering or sovereignty. Dapat magmatsyag din tayo kung ang gobyerno ay gumagawa ng tama o hindi. So that's the reason why the role of the school is to educate the citizen. Not to be silent at all times, to fit the citizen into the society where he lives, and to educate the citizen to change the society. When we allow politics to manage us, politiko talaga sila. Sila yung mga grupong sinungaling propagandista. What do you mean you say propagandista? They make propaganda. They make people believe what is unbelievable. Ganon yun. So what is true? Yung hindi natin alam, yung totoo. Kasi ang kita natin sa TV, lahat yun ay hindi totoo. Alright? That's the role, that's the way they project government. Proceed. Next slide, please. Okay. Miss Emma, please. If a teacher is emphasizing the development of learners' competency to transform knowledge into innovation, job creation, what pillar of education is he actually promoting? This is a different type of pillars of learning. So, sa mga libro, ang present lamang ay apat. That is learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. So, sa makabagong konsepto, may 5 na siyang pillars of learning. Dagdagan ko ng isa. Learning to transform oneself and society. Okay? That is the learning. Okay? So that one is learning to transform oneself and society. In this case naman, to transform knowledge into innovation and job creation. That one is called learning to do. Letter B. Anong clue namin man sa learning to do? Competency siya. Competency, skills, all right? Innovation, that one is learning to do. Kung purely knowledge, learning to know. Kung relationship, learning to live together. To develop the individual into to become a better person, learning to be. Okay? Mamano naman to transform oneself. If you're willing to sacrifice for the sake of others, that is learning to transform oneself and society. The last two numbers, Miss Emma. Next slide, please. What pillar of education, medyo, ano ha, iba-iba yung question natin kasi medyo nag-mix siya. What pillar of education is emphasized? The learning to be human through acquisition of knowledge, skills, and values conducive to personality development. Okay? To be human, pagiging tao, acquire knowledge, skills, and values to personality development. That one is learning to be. Letter D, learning to be. Paano ba magiging personalidad mo in the future? Last number, please. What kind of grassroots model best advances education for all, or we call this EPA. EPA means education for all, has served children of slum city dwellers. Is that mobile education in Pariton, left flyers on out of school children? This is the rapid education modules and educational television. The correct answer here for slum city dwellers, we have what we call Cariton. Okay, mobile education on Cariton, very effective, and this one is multi-awarded. All right, so the correct answer is letter A. So, Christine and Joshua, thank you so much for your attendance today. And
Welcome,
tonight we
ma'am.
will be having more classes, and until tomorrow we will have another classes. And please inform everyone whoever have that signal. I will talk to them also tonight. So thank you so much, guys. Okay, I hope you learned something, and good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, guys. Ingat lagi.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.